Shota Vidani Rajendra Nirnam Shanti Sahasrasha Apashatam Atma Tattvam Grihesha Griha Medina Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurmilitanina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovaistam Sarkitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantika. So Shukadeva Goswami is beginning to reply to the questions that Parikshit Maharaj has placed in the earlier canto. What was Parikshit Maharaj's question? Yes, the one is about to die, what should he do? So, in the previous verse, Shukadeva Goswami has pointed out that this inquiry of Parikshit Maharaj was very wonderful because the answers will benefit everybody. So here in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami is pointing out that those who are materially engrossed, they are blind to the real knowledge and they have many subject matters for hearing. Just like in your country, there are so many periodicals and magazines. And in America, you have a magazine for everything. Even if one is a diabetic patient, they have a magazine for diabetic patients. If somebody has a liver problem, there's a magazine for liver patients. If somebody has a heart problem, they have a magazine for heart patients. So there's so many subject matters. There have been so many volumes of books that have been produced all over the world. And to produce these volumes of books, innocent trees are being slaughtered to produce pulp that will produce the paper. But in spite of so many thousands of publications, it has not resulted in creating a peaceful atmosphere. That is because these publications have nothing to do with Krishna. And because it has nothing to do with Krishna, it does not satisfy anyone. So in the purport it is being pointed out that essentially there are two classes of householders. One is called Grihastha, one is called Grihamedhi. So what is the difference? The difference is one class is interested in self-realization and the other is interested in body exploitation. The Grihamedhis are all envious of each other. Prabhupada explains the word Medhi means jealousy. They are envious of the neighbor, envious of the relatives. Why does one become envious? Because they think that somebody else has what he should be having. So, the spiritualist, however, the Grihastha, he is not interested in many subject matters for hearing, but his subject matter for hearing is only one, that is Krishna consciousness. Those who are not interested in Atma Tattva, they are very attached to what is known as the fallible soldiers. Fallible means that which is going to collapse, fall. And the fallible soldiers are body, wife, children, relatives, friends. So they have many subject matters for hearing. They're always talking, but that talk is not conducive for spiritual realization. So Shukadeva Goswami is explaining in this section of the Bhagavatam that the perfection of life is realized when some or the other one gets used to hearing about Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami explains, what is the use of a prolonged life if that life is not going to give you love of God? Just like Shukadeva Goswami says, do the trees not live? You may be surprised to hear that the trees can live longer than you and I. There are many trees that have been in existence for hundreds of years. And there's one tree in India that has been in existence for 5,000 years. So the Bhagavatam says, do the trees not live? And do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? So it is better to you have a short life, but used in the service of the Lord, rather than a long life independent of the instructions of the Lord. So if one utilizes his time in mundane issues, topics, then this valuable human life is wasted. And a devotee recognizes the human body is obtained with great difficulty. So the foolish materialist, as Prabhupada points out, wastes his valuable human life, ignoring the all-attractive pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The foolish materialist does not appreciate the value of devotional service to Krishna. Once when Prabhupada was in Iran, he gave a very nice story on this point. He said that once Lord Shiva and Parvati, there's a story that once Lord Shiva and Parvati were passing through a market. And they were passing through a market and there was a beggar over there begging everyone for money. So Parvati told Lord Shiva, give him some donation. Lord Shiva said, no, even if I give him, he won't know what to do with it. So he didn't give him. So Parvati again insisted, no, give him some donation. He's a beggar. So Lord Shiva gave him a watermelon, arbuj. And inside that arbuj, there were gold and emeralds. So when Lord Shiva gave that beggar the arbuj, the beggar took the arbuj and said, oh, what am I going to do with this arbuj? And he sold it to somebody else for 2 cents. But inside that arbuj, there were gold and emeralds. So Prabhupada said, similarly, we are giving Krishna consciousness to everybody. But people are saying, no, I don't want it. They don't realize that this Krishna consciousness is the real gold, the real diamond. So when our devotees approach people, tell them, please take books, please take the Krishna consciousness. They say, no, we have no time. We have too much work to do. Our position, just like the beggar who got the arbuj, but he didn't know what to do with it, so he gave it away. So the purpose of having these different senses in the body is to use these senses in service to the Lord. Just like, for example, you have eyes. Now you see the peacock feather. When you do the arati, in the end they use the peacock feather. So in the peacock feather there are plumes that look like eyes. But if you close your eyes and try to see with the help of the plumes will not be able to see. Then you have the legs. Actually, these legs are meant to walk to the holy places. But what are we using these legs for? Walking to useless places, doing exercises, and so on. So the legs that are not used to walk to the places of pilgrimage, they are compared to the trunks of the trees. And if the heart doesn't melt after hearing the glories of the Lord, when we say melt, it means that the heart doesn't understand that it must give up sense enjoyment. Then this heart is made of steel. It's like a frame made out of steel. So the Bhagavatam says, Svaved barahostra kare samsuta purusha pashu nayat karna pato peto jatu nama gadagrajaha. That those who are like dogs, hogs, camels and asses are busy glorifying others who are also like dogs, hogs, camels and asses. That is, those who are used to animalistic activities, they do not glorify the devotees of the Lord or the Lord. They are just busy clapping at others who are also of a similar mentality. The Bhagavatam, for example, compares the gross materialists to dogs, hogs, camels and asses because these are the activities in which human beings are engaged in. The dog, for example, will serve anybody regardless or as long as it gets something to eat. The policeman uses the dog to catch the thieves, and the thieves uses the dog to stay away from the militia. So the dog is loyal to the thief and the police. Doesn't matter. Whoever feeds him, he can buy his loyalty. So similarly, the materialists, anybody gives them dengue, they're ready to work for him. Then it's compared to the hog. Hog mates without discrimination, eats without discrimination. Similarly, the materialists, they know no guidelines. They mate without discrimination, they eat without discrimination. Then, like the camel bites on thorns. And when the camel bites on thorns, the tongue bleeds. And when the tongue bleeds, the foolish camel thinks, oh, the thorns are very tasty. You don't see camels in Moscow, but when you go to Tashkent, Almaty, you see camels. And then it's compared to the ass. The ass carries a heavy burden of load. Just for what? A little bit of food stuff. The ass doesn't realize that it can get a little bit of food stuff even without carrying this heavy burden of load. So those who are materially engrossed, they're only interested in activities that help them to forget the Lord. And those who are devotees, they're interested in the opposite, spiritual subject matters. So now what do we do? Since the materialists are only interested in gross activities of sense enjoyment, should the devotees leave them alone? What do you devotees think? Should we leave them alone and let them all go towards hell? Yeah? We can leave them alone, tell them Das Vidanya. No, you can't leave them alone. Why? Because we are Vaishnavas. Just like if Prabhupada would have left all of us alone, none of us would have been here. The devotee endeavors to bring everyone back to the Lord. That is the nature of a Vaishnava. Para dukha dukhi. Dukhi in Sanskrit means misery, unhappiness. So when a Vaishnava says that somebody else is in distress, he also becomes distressed. Just like, for example, giving you a mundane example, when the child is in great pain,
Don't the parents also feel the pain? Yeah? Those who are mothers can probably testify. So, similarly, the Vaishnava devotee, when he sees that the materialists are trying to convert unhappiness into a happiness, he becomes very disturbed. Just like what did Prahlad Maharaj say? He said, my dear Lord, I am not interested in going to the mountains. I am not interested in going to the forest. Prahlad Maharaj was the son of a king. Who could have stopped him from going to the mountain and the forest if he wanted to go? But he said, I want to stay where the people are and give them your transcendental knowledge so they may become happy. So that is the mentality of the devotee, that somehow or the other we have to give them Krishna consciousness. Even if it means personal inconvenience. Just like I'll tell you once, when Prabhupada, after he came to the West, he went back to India and he lived at the Radha Damodar temple. Some of you may have seen that temple when he came to India. So, when Prabhupada was there, once his tooth came out in the night. He just kept it underneath his pillow and he didn't even tell anybody. And then he developed an infection on his feet. And there was so much swelling on his feet, he couldn't even walk. But he was still walking as if nobody would even notice that he had a swelling. He tolerated all this bodily pain, but he still went on preaching. On so many occasions we saw, even when the doctors would come and tell Prabhupada, take rest, he would not stop preaching. So the devotee's mentality has to be, tolerate personal inconvenience for a higher cause. And the higher cause is becoming Krishna conscious and making others Krishna conscious. And to achieve this goal, he does not mind paying the price. And the price that you have to pay is personal inconvenience. So therefore Rupa Goswami has said, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Adi Kutopi Labhate. My dear friend, whatever price you may have to pay to become Krishna conscious, please pay this price and do not bargain. In the Bhagavatam, you have the story of King Rantideva, how Rantideva was such a magnanimous king that he was concerned about the welfare of everybody. So Rantideva had on one occasion fasted for 48 days along with his wife. He was about to break his fast with some foodstuff made of milk and sugar and water when a hungry Brahmana walked into his palace. And he very gladly gave a little bit of foodstuff that he had. Subsequently, other hungry men and thirsty men walked in and he gave away everything that he had. You devotees may fast for half a day, and when you're about to break your fast and somebody comes and wants to steal your prasad, I'm sure nobody will like it. Devotees don't mind doing prajalpa, but nobody likes doing prajalpa at prasad time. But Maharaj Rantideva parted with everything he had. And then he offered a very wonderful prayer to the Lord. That prayer has a very powerful message, so please meditate on the message. He said, Na kamaya hamgatim ishvarat para. My dear Lord, I don't want anything for myself. I only want that you may transfer the misery due to everybody else to me. Take them all back to Godhead and I will suffer. You may say, oh, that sounds fine, but I'm not so advanced, so what's the use of my hearing this? We know you're not Rantideva. But the point is that at least when you know the standard that you should achieve, you can meditate on that standard and come up to that standard. Just like in history books, you read about all what the great soldiers of Russia have done in the past. So we have spiritual history. We have the examples of great devotees, how they exhibited tolerance, how they exhibited the mood of the devotee, etc. And by meditating on these pastimes of these great devotees, we will also automatically become great. On whatever activity your mind meditates, that is where you will be drawn towards. If you're going to meditate on the greatness, on the great devotees, then you will also become great. And if you meditate on mundane subject matters, then you will also become weak. Therefore, the mind should meditate on those activities which will help achieve the goal of life. So those who are blind to the real mission of life have to be given spiritual vision. And spiritual vision means they have to be reminded about the goal of life. And the Vaishnava devotees have to love the Lord, have to travel from house to house, place to place, village to village, city to city, and give people Krishna consciousness. And a principal method for giving Krishna consciousness is book distribution. Hare Krishna. So there's only 2 minutes left for the class to end, so I just have a question. How many devotees took part in book distribution yesterday? Yesterday I had requested that even those devotees who have part-time service can go out for half an hour and give out at least one book. And I had also requested the visiting devotees could also take part. It's not a sin if you distribute books in an area where you don't live. So how many devotees took part in book distribution yesterday? Raise your hands high. Well, how many people promised that they would and they didn't take part? Oh yeah, that's not good. So, once again, there's only, I think the Lord Nrsimha Marathon goes on till the 14th. So once again, we want to request all the devotees to please do their tiny bit. Just like in the army, some are Maharathis. Maharathi means a soldier who can shoot, who can do many things at the same time. And some may be able to do only limited. Just like when Lord Ramachandra was crossing the Indian Ocean, Hanuman was lifting big, big rocks. And there was a spider that was just trying to clear the water by few drops at a time. So, Lord Ramachandra took service from the spider and Hanuman both. So we have the big Hanumans who are doing like 50, 100 sets of books a day. And some of you may be like spiders. But at least be a spider. Don't be a bystander. So at least go and distribute a little bit of understanding of the philosophy by going out and distributing it. You can everybody can arrange a schedule so you can go out at least for half an hour a day or 1 hour a day, isn't it? Actually, I was quite pleased yesterday when I was going home. I saw that 2 devotees from the Gurukul were standing in front of the Gurukul building and selling books. That was very nice. So, will everybody take part in the Lord Nrsimha Marathon today? Yes or no? Okay, so please do it. Lord Chaitanya said, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Samkirtanam. It means, let there be victory for this Samkirtan process. So this victory for Lord Chaitanya's process will only come if all of you explain to everyone what is Lord Chaitanya's process. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.